Now at 10, Matthews making a comeback in Minnesota.
There's a new supply and it's cheaper and more pure than ever.
The Mexican connection that has the DEA so concerned. Plus the threats made against a senior citizen at a light rail stop before he was beaten and robbed.
And today's severe thunderstorms serve up a scare.
A Minneapolis family stunned and shocked by lightning. Literally. We'll have the story coming up.
Well, thanks for joining us. We start tonight with a new 24-hour record rainfall in the Twin Cities. 2.34 inches fell at Minneapolis International.
That broke the old record of 1.7 inches set back in 1942. It was enough water to flood highways and bring traffic to a crawl across much of the metro. And now that the rain has stopped, the temperatures are starting to drop.
Belle joins us in the backyard now with a first look at rain totals and the big cool down. And we think she's there.
I am here. You know what? The bottom line is we're watching this rain really closely, and the good news is it is gone, and a lot of the lightning is gone too. What a day. Waking up to that thunder and lightning between 3 and 6 a.m., and then, of course, having a bit of a break, and then it returns. The downpours this afternoon, ponding roads, causing, of course, just complete washouts in many locations. Everything off to the east now, and that is where it will remain. So that is good news. But when it comes to how much rain fell today, record in the Twin Cities at the airport, but many areas seeing more than that. Look at this. This bullseye is anywhere between 4 to 6 inches of rain just across the border. And the eastern metro did get the bulk of the rain today, where the rain fell a number of times for a couple of hours, and of course the deluge was amazing. So when it comes to tomorrow, what a difference a day can make. Even tonight is cooler, and we expect tomorrow to feel, well, like September. We'll have the weekend forecast and your cabin cast coming up in just a couple of minutes.
All right, thank you, Belle. Along with today's rain came claps of thunder and some lightning strikes.
One of those bolts gave a family inside a Minneapolis apartment complex quite a scare. John Croman is live to explain how they got stunned, literally. John?
Well, you know, we often think of the cartoon version of a lightning strike, a kind of a bolt from the blue that knocks someone down. But in reality, it usually doesn't happen that way. In fact, a Minneapolis family found out today that lightning can travel in mysterious ways. It's a day they'll remember on Plymouth Avenue.
When I first heard it, I looked up, and then the second one, it felt like it was about to hit the window.
It was literally right there, like right when you look up, like almost a face-to-face contact.
Tyrone Jarrett and Tristan Smith were upstairs in this apartment building when lightning struck 3 times, each time getting closer.
Boom, right there. It rattled the whole building. So, like, my son got to crying. I felt for him because I already knew what he was going through. Felt like something was going on. It was like a big, loud explosion.
Down on the first floor, a jolt of electricity surged through the screen door and a window fan and made contact.
It hit everybody. My brother, my sister, me, and my mom.
They were watching a movie. Ray Jefferson was doing her sister Tadriana's hair when she felt the shock come through the metal hairpin through her left arm.
It came through the fan, and my feet was like right in front of the fan, so it hit my ankle and my foot.
The brother Daryl felt the shock in his hands. All of them felt numbness and tingling for at least 5 minutes.
It's crazy.
Hectic. This is a very lucky group of people.
DNR climatologist Kenneth Blumenfeld says most lightning injuries are from indirect strikes, and people do get struck indoors.
Lightning has come through doors, windows, it travels through radiators, it goes through wiring, plumbing. People have been zapped in a number of ways.
So the old adage about staying away from windows and doors and electrical appliances in a storm, rings true.
3 times. That was something amazing.
Yeah.
Something very amazing.
That was something new.
Now that family down on Plymouth Avenue did not call 911. They didn't see a doctor yet. They said after that numbness and tingling and the shock went away, they went back to watching that movie. But as Ken said, they're very, very lucky.
I guess so.
Absolutely. Interesting. Thank you so much, John.
Sure.
We're watching a developing story out of Eagan tonight. Police are investigating a deadly accident near Coachman and Yankee Doodle roads. Officers say a 27-year-old man ran into traffic and is hit by the driver of a white minivan. The victim was pronounced dead at the scene.
New at 10, the city of Faribault, its police chief and a former police officer are all being sued by a former confidential informant. The lawsuit accuses Robert Vogelsberg of using his authority as a detective to pressure the woman into having sex with him in exchange for money, drugs, and other favors. The lawsuit claims there were between 30 and 40 explicit meetings, with some happening at the officer's home, the police department, and his police cruiser. Vogelsberg resigned in December of 2011 after the department launched an investigation into the claims. The woman is seeking more than $100,000 in damages.
Investigators looking for answers in the murder of a North Dakota State University student have taken the case to FBI behavioral analysts on the East Coast. It's been nearly a year since Tom Bierson was found dead in Moorhead. An autopsy determined the Sartell native died as the result of homicidal violence. 2 men charged in connection with the deaths of a Lyon County couple have pleaded not guilty. Derek Hexum is accused of shooting Jim and Kathy Hively during an April break-in. Prosecutors say Theodore Como later returned to the home with Hexum and a third man and set fire to it.
A $300,000 bust in Olmsted County has revealed a troubling trend in drug use in Minnesota.
A 2-month investigation uncovered the large meth operation that authorities say can be traced back to Mexico. New tonight, Jay Olstead reports on what could be the start of a growing problem.
It's a problem some are once again calling an epidemic.
We are at the same levels of methamphetamine abuse as we were at the peak of the epidemic 10 years ago.
Carol Felkowski, an expert in drug abuse, says her research points to meth making a major comeback in Minnesota.
10 years ago, state and federal law banned the sale of pseudoephedrine products. And right after that happened, methamphetamine declined.
But since then, something else has been slowly filling that void.
Mexican meth is flooding this country.
The DEA tells me the vast majority of meth here in the Twin Cities and in Minnesota is coming from Mexico. In fact, they say the Mexican drug cartels have dropped their prices by about 50% in just the last 2 years. The latest example came from Olmsted County near Rochester, where investigators announced today they seized $300,000 of meth, some of it stashed in this rural house.
The business of drug trafficking and drug importation is enormous. It's a multi-billion-dollar business.
See that little black thing? There's a guy laying on each of it.
It's something Carol Levin experienced firsthand 2 years ago when we traveled to the Mexican border to investigate how drugs got to Minnesota. Back then, law enforcement on the ground said they estimated intercepting maybe only 10% of the drugs coming across the border.
Law enforcement has to remain very diligent in trying to stop the supply.
And step up prevention efforts, she says, for what is clearly a complicated problem.
There's really no quick fix to this.
Yeah, no doubt police have been very busy. This is something the entire country is seeing. But here in Minnesota, the DEA and other officers have taken a lot of meth off the streets. Felkowski says officers in Ramsey County seized 128 pounds last year. That's compared to only 16 pounds a year earlier. Julie.
Wow. Thank you, Jay. A St. Paul man is charged with aggravated robbery tonight in connection with an attack along the Green Line light rail. Prosecutors say these pictures show Eric Larson walking up to a 79-year-old man at the 10th Street stop. He's accused of assaulting the man and walking off with his groceries. The victim told police when he tried to get the bag back, Larson pushed him against the wall and punched him, breaking his glasses. Witnesses jumped in to break up the fight. Less than a month after they protested outside the state fair, a Black Lives Matter group will protest before the Vikings home opener. The St. Paul chapter says their goal is to shut down the Green Line station in St. Paul. Leaders say they're protesting how transit officers handled an incident with a 17-year-old boy who has autism.
A safety alert in Eden Prairie tonight. Police believe multiple people are behind a recent crime wave happening while families sleep. Since late July, there have been 30 reports of car break-ins, 6 garage burglaries, and 1 stolen vehicle. 5 of those cases happened this week alone around Eden Prairie Road between Pioneer Trail and Flying Cloud Drive.
Tomorrow, Governor Mark Dayton will find himself at Columbia Heights High School, where controversy erupted earlier this week. Just yesterday, hundreds of students walked out of class in protest. They're upset about a school board member keeping his seat after he denied posting a racially charged comment about Muslims on his Facebook account. A spokesperson for the governor's office tonight would only tell us this is a planned visit. Still ahead at 10, how Minnesota's newest millionaire cashed in big.
Plus, Belle's back with your cabin cast and tonight's full forecast as well. Also tonight, why the rain delayed a milestone moment at the new Viking Stadium.
And Vikings linebacker Chad Greenway starts the season without one of his biggest fans. His story next.
Not only is Sunday the Vikings' home opener against Detroit, but it's also their Tackle Cancer game. This team supports so many great causes in our community, including the fight against cancer and raising money for research. It's something that hits home for veteran linebacker Chad Greenway, who knows all too well how devastating cancer can be. There is nothing like a Viking game day, and it never gets old, even for a veteran like Chad Greenway. But Chad would also be the first to tell you this is what he does. It's not who he is. Yes, he loves football, and he's given his all for 10 years as a pro, and it's afforded him a wonderful life. And his young family certainly enjoys cheering on Daddy, which is priceless. But Chad is as grounded as they come, and he's always known fame is fleeting and family is forever. Even if forever in this case means only in his heart.
You know, my dad is, he's always been my hero. I think from a kid, we look up to your dad, and especially the amazing dad that I had.
Alan Greenway, at age 56, died last December after a hard-fought battle with leukemia. Far too young and far too soon.
But what I learned mostly about my dad, was something I always knew, but just not probably the same extent as how much he loved my mom. I think that as a kid, you watch the interaction of your parents, and we had such a great example of a marriage, and they love each other so much.
One of his dad's greatest gifts passed on to his son. Chad is a loving husband to his wife Jenny and a doting father to his 3 daughters.
Awesome! You guys look like you're ready to go.
He gives back to the community he lives in, like his father gave to those less fortunate around the family farm in South Dakota.
2, 1.
Who Chad is today is a direct result of where he came from.
Have fun, have fun, have fun. Oh, I like the bike.
So it's not surprising. Chad and his dad were very close. And that's why losing him when Chad's kids are so young hurts so much.
He was awesome, and they loved him so much. And I had my 4-year-old, she has her blanket she loves, and it's difficult. But she'd always try to give it to him when she'd go to the hospital. Yeah, it was like the curing blanket, and just pretty cool.
So what do you miss the most now?
I would say the biggest thing I miss is the interaction with him and my kids. That's the hardest thing that he's not going to get to do anymore, and for me to see that, that's tough.
That's pretty special.
Yeah.
Chad's mother, she's on the right with her granddaughters, is running the family farm basically by herself. The Greenways have no choice but to move on, understanding that life will never be the same. Even football. Chad misses sharing all of this with his dad. But how proud Alan was of his son and still is.
I think that's the hardest probably question to answer, because it's something I always cared about too, was making him proud. So.
And you feel like you did that?
Try to, yeah.
And not just on the football field, but the way you live your life.
Yeah, I think just being a dad and a husband and trying to do things for other people. It's not anything special, just what he was too,
Well, I think a lot of people would argue, Chad, that what you do in the community is special and very appreciated. The Tackle Cancer campaign, started by the Minnesota Football Coaches Association in 2012, raises money for the Randy Shaver Cancer Research and Community Fund, which in turn supports cancer research and patient aid projects in Minnesota. There will be volunteers at both the Vikings and Gopher games this weekend taking donations for Tackle Cancer.
His dad must have been proud, because everyone that meets Chad just goes away saying, what a phenomenal guy. Very, soft-spoken, not...
You know what? I always say it's typical Midwest.
Yeah.
Those are Midwest people.
Yeah, and Jenny, his wife, is
that's what he is.
Fabulous too.
And what a great family. Just it's a tough deal, and it still hurts.
56.
Yeah,
so young.
Way too young.
Well, we appreciate what you're doing too, Randy. So great opportunity this weekend to give to cancer research.
Yeah, it's going to be a great weekend. We have a great cabin cast. Let's take a look at this beautiful picture that one of our viewers sent in. This is Michaela Wahlberger. I hope I said you said your name right. Let's look at my phone here and just make sure I say this right. It is Wallschlager. See, I knew I'd get it wrong. Isn't that a beautiful shot, though?
Yes.
Gosh, that's a beautiful shot. You know, it's been such an amazing month. If you consider Labor Day weekend and all the heat, and then, of course, the last 2 weekends and how beautiful it has been. So we step outside into a completely different weather pattern than we had this morning. You woke up to thunderstorms this morning, probably shook you out of bed as it did a lot of us. And moths out here tonight. And along with that, we had, of course, the deluge of rain. We were Bobby and I were driving around doing Grow with Care today. We literally had to stop on 35. It was such a downpour, just blinding rain. And now, of course, tonight it's cool and crisp. So that's September for you. Pretty remarkable. Let's take a look at the temperatures for the Twin Cities for your cabin cast this weekend. We expect it to be a little more seasonal, 71 and 75. Just an absolutely gorgeous September weekend right here in the city. All the lakes here and the rivers. Now we head up to, of course, Detroit Lakes and that neck of the woods, 70 and 73. Over to Brainerd and McGregor. Aiken, Big Sandy, Minnewawa. Looks beautiful for all of you. 71 and 72. We head up to the gorgeous North Shore, where according to the DNR, we're at about 25% color, peak color. So pockets of beautiful color, and what a great place to go this time of year. 69 both days. Now we head down to northern Wisconsin, gorgeous northern Wisconsin, and they're only reporting, the Wisconsin Department of Tourism, about 10% color. So in the coming weeks, of course, that will increase a lot, and it will be just spectacular. The forecast is for this fall colors to be just beautiful based on this, of course, growing season and how good it's been. So we did top out at 84 yesterday. Today we made it to 78, and we did have all that rain. And as you can see here, everywhere that you see purple is over 4 inches. And where you see red, it's close to 5 inches of rain. So it was a remarkable day where the front really stalled out. Once it got here, it stalled out before the cold front, of course, caught up and pushed it off. And because of the amount of moisture we had in the air, it was, of course, a very wet day. We're sitting at 64 now, so a big drop off in temperatures. Tomorrow morning, 56. During the day tomorrow, about 68. Partly cloudy. We do expect later in the day tomorrow the clouds to thicken up and maybe a spotty shower for those Friday night prep football games. Otherwise, gorgeous day on Saturday with lots of sun all day Saturday. That's the way it's looking. So for tomorrow, 68 here. And for football, just a slight chance of a spotty shower. Bring a rain jacket. Why not? We'll be dipping down through the upper 50s for those games. And then for the 7-day, I'll step away and you can just take a look at it for yourself. Nothing really changing. If you've been watching us throughout the week, we do appreciate it. Just a few spotty showers late tomorrow evening. And then great timing. 71, 75, 76 for Saturday, Sunday, and into next Monday.
Beautiful weekend.
Gorgeous. Thank you, Belle.
All right.
Well, today's thunderstorms put a damper on a milestone at the new Viking Stadium. Crews were supposed to place the final steel beam on the structure today, but lightning, of course, meant they had to wait for that topping out ceremony. So tomorrow, crews will install the beam and place a Christmas tree on top of it all. The stadium, by the way, is about 70% complete. Coming up in sports, the Twins set their sights on a win following an extra inning loss last night.
Plus, cheering on the Minnesota United.
And arguably the best fan group in all of Minnesota, the Dark Clouds, that's on the way.
KARE 11 Sports from the Mayo Clinic Sports Medicine Sports Desk.
Well, 2 teams in a major pennant race. Angels, though, not being really angelic tonight. A slugfest at Target Field. Got off on a good foot. Trevor Plouffe cranking this one into the seats. Crowd loves it. Minnesota on top. Shortly thereafter, Torrey Hunter's turn. Bomb. And the Twins are up, cruising. Unfortunately, Mike Trout and the Angels would lash back in a big way, and right now are in the lead late in this game. Well, huge match Saturday at home. Minnesota United against the New York Cosmos. Another great crowd expected in Blaine. Should be loud and proud, and much of that, as it always does, will emanate from one corner of the stands.
Dark clouds, foreboding and ominous.
The name Dark Clouds is a gag, right? That Dark Clouds makes it sound like it's all like sad about stuff and threatening and whatever. And it's just a party.
For the past 5 years, the party starts here at the Nomad. This Minneapolis watering hole has a fitting name, a nomad, sort of a wanderer with no home, which is the same sort of existence Minnesota has had as a pro soccer market. Several incarnations, but finally, Minnesota United has roots. Committed ownership, major league revenue on the horizon, and a fiercely loyal fan base.
Most people who are in soccer might just watch EPL, and it's great to see a homegrown scene grow, and it's growing dramatically.
From the Nomad World Pub, the congregation gets on the bus and heads to Blaine. The pregame ritual consists of fellowship, prop construction, and brats, but just like the team, game time, things amp up.
They're the guys I saw first when we came up here in, I guess, 2012. Looked at this team that was about to be folded, and these guys are over here breaking down the fence after a win. And I said, man, we can't let this go away.
I don't care what you look like, how you speak. Doesn't matter if you have an accent or not, where you're from or not. If you want to cheer for the club, welcome.
Review online of various soccer stadiums that call us a marching band with a 3-drink minimum.
You know, they like hearing us cheering them on. That motivates you, that gets you out of the low energy place and pushes you forward. And that's what I love doing.
When you're on the field and you hear a chant about you, supporting you, going hundreds, thousands deep on the chant, it gives you that extra boost to make you feel almost like you're 10 feet tall and there's nothing you can't do. And confidence is the biggest thing in the world when you're on the field, and that's exactly what the Dark Clouds give us.
And again, that game tomorrow, Saturday night at 7. That's sports. KARE 11 News back after this.
Meet Minnesota's newest millionaire. Mary Seigel won the $1 million payout after last night's drawing. The Minneapolis woman matched all 5 of the first numbers drawn. The only one she didn't get was the Powerball. She says she'll buy a new convertible, set up her daughter financially, and then figure out the best way to make that money last.
Wow.
I guess that depends on what your daughter requires in order to be set up financially. Better keep a tight rein on that one.
Right.
That's what I would say.
But that's pretty
awesome,
fun.
Isn't that so fun?
Yeah.
That'd be a nice Wednesday night, wouldn't it?
It certainly would.
Or Thursday.
We'd miss you though, Randy.
Or Friday or Saturday.
How
No,
about
you wouldn't,
Tuesday?
Julie. You wouldn't miss me in the least.